Hi there, it's Moira MacDonald and Timmy. Um, I've not made a video for a while. If you follow my channel regularly, um, then obviously you're interested in paper crafting. Having said that, I did make a video a wee while back about depression and anxiety and the impact that it was having on myself. The main reason I haven't made any videos recently is because obviously the depression stroke anxiety stroke stress has been rearing its ugly head. It has been what can only be described as a sort of fairy tale winter, and by fairy tale I mean grim. Grim in the sense that I have not necessarily handled excuse me, handled things as well as I could have done. Sometimes when things happen, this is all very when things happen in your life, sometimes it's the case that you misunderstand up here how best to deal with things and react poorly. I think it's fairly safe to say that I have been reacting poorly through the most of this winter. A series of unfortunate events, if you like, nothing major, just when people round about me are ill, or if I'm ill, I tend to look very much at the bleak side of things, mainly because my husband has fairly serious respiratory issues, and as a consequence I tend to worry incredibly so anytime he manages to pick up something like a cold. It just so happened he wasn't the only one that picked up a cold. Ironically, I am the only one who didn't in this house. I'm the only one that appears to actually be physically quite okay. Unfortunately, I can't say the same for my mental state, but it caused me to have a look at things overall, and I went to the doctor finally and said I am deeply unhappy. I have a variety of angsts that are causing major impact in how I function, because I wouldn't say I shut down, but what I have achieved is that I don't do an awful lot. I do the bare bones. I get up and I wash and I clean and whatever, and I function in as far as I clean the house, and I'll go out and I'll do my shopping, and I'll come back and I'll make the meals, but that's about it. Beyond that, there's nothing else, and that, as you know, it's surviving more so than living. And my phrase that I used when I went to the doctor is that I have no joy in my life. I think it was because I'd watched some video on Marie Kondo. What an idiot that woman is. But anyway, we'll not start that one. Basically, that I felt as if there was no joy in my life. And I feel as if there is no joy in my life. Don't get me wrong, there has been no miracle cure that has made me feel brilliant. She had suggested to me, the doctor that I saw, that they now have what they call a mental health professional, who I think is some sort of wee psychiatric nurse woman, and she suggested I see her. So I had a telephone conversation with this woman, and then I had a 45-minute appointment where we sat and discussed things, which just focused around me rambling on about everything that was bothering me. And there is a lot that is bothering me in my life. Things aren't at all what like if you looked back at the 20-year-old Moira in relation to the Moira who is now approaching her 60th year, albeit next year, I don't have any of the things. Well, I wouldn't say that I don't have any of the things. I don't have the things that I thought I would have in life, and as a result I am tending to look at things as if I have in some sense failed. I've failed me, because I don't have what I had anticipated would make me happy in life. And she sat there and she listened. My concern about the whole thing was that in many respects I think she had made up her mind what way we were going prior to even physically seeing me. She had suggested that there are what's called stress control classes run in this area, and it's a series of 6 weeks where you basically go and sit and listen for about an hour and a half to somebody telling you how to work yourself. And I've done these stress control classes before, a while back when they first started them, because they started back in something like 2014. So I have done these. I must admit, at the time that I did them, I couldn't relate them at all, really, to my life. And as a result, I came up the road. I said to her, yeah, I'll go, but I came up the road and I thought, do you know, I can't. That dog's running in and out. See, if he bangs this tripod, I'm going to shoot him. I came up the road from that appointment thinking I've got this to go to, and there was nothing but abject dread in my heart at the prospect of sitting going to listen to somebody else basically talk about stress, depression and anxiety, because I can identify myself quite well, and I thought, what's the point in me listening to you? You're really more needing to listen to me. And indeed I still feel like that. Anyway, in the event, I didn't go. I poo-pooed it, and I thought, I'm sorry, it's genuine, I can't face it, which again is part and parcel of the whole scenario you find yourself in when you're suffering from stress, depression, anxiety. You tend to find it very, very difficult to make yourself do things that are outside your normal remit, if you like. So in the event, my husband, who has been ill, he tried to go back to work in fact I think it was this week. It was this week he tried to go back to work after having been ill for a wee while, and was home within half the day, and said, he says, I seem to be getting really, really kind of breathless. He says, but the thing is, it's only happening when I'm getting to work. I feel fine when I'm sitting in here. I feel fine when I'm going. I feel fine when I'm coming away and when I get back in. But when I'm there, I'm really struggling to breathe. And I said, well, I think you better go to see a doctor. I says, but that doesn't sound as if it's you know, the breathing issues, the asthma and the COPD. I says, that sounds as if there's something else going on. I says, maybe you've got depression. Because that's what it sounds like to me. So he went down and he saw a doctor, saw a different doctor, and guess what he was told to do? He was told to go to the stress control classes. He was a bit more open to it, and it's on a Wednesday afternoon, so he decided, yeah, okay, I'm going to go, but I've missed the first couple of weeks, so is it worth my while? And I says, well, I was told that no matter what you missed, it was worth going. I says, so I would do it. So anyway, he went, hold on, I'm going to have to shut the door because Daisy's out barking. Daisy, come on, in you come. Sorry about that. Right, so anyway, so he went and came home. I couldn't go with him, ironically. As it turns out, I had to do my taxi service, if you like, and go and pick my son up from the train station while this class was going to be on. One of us had to do it, and I thought, you're more needing it than me, so you go and I'll hear about it. Because I knew from experience that they give you a ton of handouts. So anyway, he went yesterday, and he says he found it quite useful, and he did bring home the handouts. And the good thing is the way they set the class up, anything that you've missed, because he missed the first 2 weeks, so he got the handouts from them, and they also give you the handout for the following week. Daisy, they give you the handout for the following week, so that you can sort of read through it and prepare mentally, and as far as see how your situation relates to what they're going to be talking about. So I had a look through well, I started it last night because I mean these are majorly handouts. They're quite long, and it's interesting and it's useful. I wouldn't say I would necessarily relate it to me entirely, although I can see some of me in some of the stuff I've read. But I thought because of this that it might be good therapy in some respects for me if I talked it over. Ironically, not talking it over with him, because I think sometimes I don't know if there's an awful lot of benefit from the two of us sounding off against one another, because obviously certain aspects of the stresses that we're feeling are caused by each other. So I think stress, anxiety, depression, whatever, yes, a sounding board is I would say a sounding board's one of the most significant things that anybody suffering from stress, depression or anxiety requires. I have found that the medical profession are quite difficult to use in that respect, because there's so much stress on them that they don't have time to deal with your stress. So they tend to be, in my experience, fairly inadequate. But what I decided I would do is maybe do some videos in relation to this as I work through it. From my point of view, obviously it gives me an opportunity to speak, albeit I'm not getting an answer, because I'm speaking to myself or anybody that's listening. But it may well be the case that if I am talking it over, it might help somebody else to identify something. And this is one of my stresses. It might help somebody else to identify some of the issues that they're going through and give them some sort of semblance of help. I don't know. I mean, it might mean absolutely nothing to anybody. But either way, I will be doing it. So you either watch or you don't, you interact or you don't, it doesn't matter. The simple fact for me is that I am saying it. I find one of my main problems at the moment is I am and I have been for ages and ages, absolutely exhausted. I am exhausted because I'm getting very, very poor sleep pattern, mostly because, most, if not all of it, is dog related. And that has been an issue from the day and hour I got Daisy here and young Timmy. Daisy's very anxious and jumps up at the drop of a hat, and she sleeps on my bed. So of course, if she jumps up and starts barking in the middle of the night, that's me awake. Timmy doesn't appear to sleep through the night. Timmy's nocturnal, I think. He wanders about and I can hear him, so consequently I don't sleep very well. As if that's not bad enough, Chip, the older of the three dogs, is really entering that stage where she's probably not going to be here for next Christmas, if indeed she's here for February, the end of February. And she's quite long nails, and I've got laminate flooring, so she's taken to wandering about at about, I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning. So I hear her, and if I hear her walking about, I get up in case she's wanting out the toilet. So I get up to let her out of the toilet, and then you're sitting in that situation where you think, is it worthwhile going back to bed because I'm going to be up in a couple of hours anyway, or will I just sit up? So you either sit up and you're shattered, or you go back to bed, and if you're lucky you fall asleep at like 5, but you're back awake again at like 5:30, 5:45. So you're still, you might as well not have bothered, you don't really derive any great benefit from it. So that degree of fatigue that I've been experiencing has impacted my view of everything. It has exacerbated my stress levels tenfold, I would say, if not more. So it's a question of, I would honestly say seriously that it's only since Christmas that, well, okay, we're entered February now, but sort of most of January to kind of come to terms with how this has been working out, because December itself was awful. December was just, it really was grim in terms of worrying about everything. Because I mean, obviously I'm really worried about Chip, the older dog, because it's, you never like to have to face losing a dog, and I do not relish the prospect of having to make the decision. And part of me is very concerned about making the decision on the basis of what would benefit me, i.e. I would get a rest if she wasn't here. And that's not right, do you know what I mean? And I know that's not right. So I am very conscious of the fact that I just need to suck it up in many respects, the fact that I'm not getting a full night's sleep. It doesn't make life any easier, don't get me wrong, but I do need to suck it up and just fight through this. So it's finding a way to fight through it, and I'm hoping to make some videos over the next few weeks where I can talk through how I'm handling things and why I'm handling them in the way that I am, and if that benefits anybody else, fair enough. It'll benefit me in as far as it just gives me an opportunity to vocalise what I'm feeling, and I think that's a really important thing for folk that are going through any sort of stress, depression, anxiety. In an ideal world, you have somebody you can sit and speak to about what's happening. The harsh reality is an awful lot of folk either don't really listen to what you're saying, or they don't have time for you, or they just don't care. And I don't mean that in a harsh way. Some folk just genuinely have enough problems in their own life without taking on some of yours as well. But that doesn't mean to say that yours are any less, do you know what I mean? Or that theirs are any less. I quite often find myself literally talking to myself, either be it out loud or, you know, just running through scenarios in my head. And I think honestly it helps me anyway. It helps me to realise that I am handling it in some fashion, because I'm addressing it, but simply by saying it, I am addressing it. I might not be addressing it as well as I could, but I'm addressing it. So in that respect, I think it's a valuable thing to do, is to speak. Which it takes us back to that original video I made, where, you know, when is it okay to say you're no okay? I think it's always okay to say you're no okay. The only problem is that it's not always the case that folk are listening. And even when they listen, it's a bit like going to your GP and being palmed off to something else that will, you know, get you out of surgery effectively. I must admit, I thought the stress control classes, my initial interpretation of it was a bit like, here, look at this shiny bauble, you know, here, let me distract you by telling you something else, and you'll stop thinking about what's bothering you. And it doesn't work like that. But anyway, so I'll hopefully be back in about a week's time to chanter away about how I feel, and if I've come up with any pearls of wisdom about things, or how I've, you know, what I've read, and, you know, went through these booklets. That'll be Chip walking across the floor, by the way. You probably picked that up in the video. So you can hopefully keep an eye out for me. I have actually, believe it or not, yeah, this week, what day is this? This is Thursday. I think Tuesday this week, believe it or not, I actually started thinking about doing paper crafting again, because I had completely shut myself off from it. I'd reached a stage where I thought, absolutely no interest, want rid of everything. And I did, in fact I ditched quite a lot of what I had. Get rid of a lot of books, I'm selling some stamps on eBay, and it's amazing, you know. I mean, you don't get anywhere near the value of what you're selling, but see that simple action of getting something back financially for what I've spent, it felt, you know, the thought of it. None of my auctions are finished yet, and I'm not going to be raking it in, but at the same time, see when you hit like $250 for a set of stamps, you think, yeah, beauty, I'm winning here. And that's sad, you know, because you're probably getting £2.50 for a set of stamps. It cost me about £8. But that's the way you go. That's life, isn't it? Anyway, thanks for joining me today. I hope you'll stick around and I'll be able to say something. I mean, I want to try and not make this really bleak. I don't think it should be. If I can talk about what bothers me, it may well be the case that there'll be something that will just spur you into saying or doing something that's, you know, will address anything that's bothering you as well. And that can't be a bad thing. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me today. I'll need to. I've been watching a ton of videos, right? That really, they don't relate to paper crafting, because I really needed to take a break for this. And some of the stuff I've come across is mind blowing, absolutely mind blowing. But we can talk about that as I go through the other, you know, the rest of the videos. So anyway, enough Moira. Thanks very much for joining me today. I shall hopefully see you soon, and if we're really lucky, it might not be quite so tired the next time, but don't hold your breath on that. Anyway, thanks for your time. See you later, guys. Bye. Bye.